some medicine, boys! Can't take his blood! You want some?
Yes. Welcome to Mordor. I found an abandoned orc fortress here that will be perfect for our tasting because today we are making the only orcish beverage to feature in Robert Tousley Anderson's cookbooks inspired by Tolkien's writings, known as Orc-Draught. In the film, 𝔰𝔲𝔯𝔫𝔶𝔫𝔫𝔫 Brandybuck was given a swig of this mysterious brew at Peregrine Took's request, but the both of them had it in the books. Either way, when they couldn't handle it, the Uruks found it rather amusing, to say the least.
His blood!
It looked disgusting, to be sure, but I'll reserve my judgment until I can prepare a batch for myself and determine what the fuss is all about. From the World of Tolkien cookbook, this honey-laced classic winter warmer really packs a punch, and it's a great choice for when you're entertaining. Orc-Draught is a burning yet revitalizing drink that the super breed of orcs known as the Uruk-Hai force on Merry and Pippin while taking them to Saruman at Isengard. Our reimagining of this drink will numb pain and keep you marching under the banners of darkness for as long as it takes. While it seemed a bit more repugnant in the Two Towers movie, the books don't depict it as quite so immediately repulsive, although it is still nonetheless abrasive. Allow me to quote a few sections from the Two Towers chapter The Uruk-Hai, from Pippin's perspective. Uglu thrust a flask between his teeth and poured some burning liquid down his throat. He felt a hot, fierce glow flow through him. The pain in his legs and ankles vanished. He could stand.
"Now for the other,"
said Uglu. Pippin saw him go to Merry, who was lying close by, and kicked him. Merry groaned. Jumping ahead, when he had forced a drink from his flask down the hobbit's throat, cut his leg bonds, and dragged him to his feet, Merry stood up, looking pale but grim and defiant, and very much alive. The gash in his forehead gave him no more trouble, but he bore a brown scar to the end of his days. "Hello, Pippin," he said. "So you've come on this little expedition too? Where do we get bed and breakfast?" Turning a few pages, the warmth of the Orc-Draught had gone. Pippin felt cold and sick again. And lastly, to quote Merry after they had escaped, "Lembas does put a heart into you. A more wholesome sort of feeling too than the heat of that Orc-Draught. I wonder what it was made of. Better not to know, I expect. Let's get a drink of water to wash away the thought of it." Something tells me our little draught here won't be so aggressive. The condensed version of this chapter that appears in the film version is actually quite often misquoted. There are a number of memes where Uglu says, "Can't take his grog," but the subtitle indicates that he is actually saying the word draught rather than grog. The word grog does not appear in Tolkien's works, although I also like this intentional misquote from The Return of the King. In our world, grog was a dilution of rum with water allocated to sailors, anywhere from 6-to-1 to 2-to-1 ratios, and occasionally also mixed with citrus and spice, but it has colloquially become a slang term in some regions to simply indicate any alcohol. To pay homage to this misquote's popularity, while our Orc-Draught recipe calls for whiskey, I happen to have some Warrior whiskey from Steamboat Whiskey Company that was finished in rum barrels. Warrior whiskey is a blend of American-made bourbon and rye whiskeys finished in newly emptied rum casks and bottled at US Navy strength, 100 proof. So, while the whiskey is going to still be the predominant flavor, there will still be a little hint of that misquoted grog concept in our Orc-Draught. This recipe serves 6 and takes 25 minutes of prep and cook time. To brew an Orc-Draught capable of making long treks across the Enedwaith more bearable, you'll need 1.5 cups of dry cider, half a cup of whiskey, half a cup of orange juice, a 1/4 cup of honey, 2 cinnamon sticks, and orange wedges and curls to decorate. Optional. Step 1. Add all of the ingredients to a large saucepan. Cover with the lid and simmer for 20 minutes until piping hot. Step 2. Stir, then ladle into heat-proof glasses. Add orange wedges and curls to decorate if desired. And here is our Orc-Draught. Right away, the cinnamon is incredibly strong on the nose, followed by apple, and then whiskey, and then orange juice. Although I'm not really picking up on rum on the nose, but again, that's finished in rum casks, so any hint of it will be that, a hint. Oh, and then I can actually pick up on some honey on the nose, which I was not expecting. I'll take it.
What is it? What do you smell?
That's tasty stuff. I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of boozy, but the honey does a lot of legwork in keeping that thing together, so it's thick and sweet. So I'm glad we went with a dry cider like Stem Cider's Real Dry, because otherwise this would have been probably too syrupy. Stem Cider's Real Dry is a full fermentation, so that thing is entirely fermented. There are no residual sugars left. It is a crispy boy. All the sweetness comes from the orange juice and the honey, and I think that's perfect because I wouldn't want any more. The whiskey is definitely prevalent on the finish, and I really haven't gotten a hint of that rum, so sorry, grog heads. But that doesn't mean that it isn't just a tasty little treat. This is pretty fantastic. I'm tempted to squeeze the orange wedge and put it in here, but I think I'm not going to do that. I like the decorative elements of it more so than I think I would like it if it were in the glass. I mean, I don't know what Merry and Pippin were on about. The orcs know how to whip up a tasty little winter warmer.
You give me all the peels. That doesn't smell like something I'd like. I was right. What's in this?
Dry cider, whiskey, honey, and cinnamon, and orange juice.
Yeah.
That is Orc-Draught.
I wonder if Mary reacted the way he did. Yeah, I'm not super into it. The like orange smell makes me feel like it's gonna be really citrusy orange mulled cider kind of thing, but whiskey really gets you. It's cute though.
I kind of expected it to taste like fermented blood or something based off of the visual representation of it in the film and Mary's reaction, but this is nice. Maybe someone needs to invite one of these grumpy little fellas to a cozy little cabin to take a breather, get some R&R, and do some soul searching. That is, if orcs do have souls. Tolkien flip-flopped on the idea throughout his life, but I think by the end somewhat regretted painting them as virtually irredeemable in most of his works. The chapter we read excerpts from earlier, the Uruk-Hai, shows that while they're cruel, they're largely driven by fear of their master's retribution and of men, elves, and dwarves, a sentiment likely systemically ingrained in them by said masters to make them more efficient at carrying out their orders unquestioningly.
The time of the orc has come.
On that note, one of the things I've enjoyed about the Rings of Power is occasionally seeing things from the perspective of the orcs through the character of Adar and his seemingly paternal attitude toward them. They're still morally bankrupt, but it is still interesting to observe a different side of their culture, even if it is added material to Tolkien's writings. I can't really fault them for that because I love the Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War games, and they're essentially fan fiction about orcish culture, a darker interpretation of Celebrimbor's soul lingering on Middle-earth beyond his book mentions, and Aragorn light, but the epilogue of Shadow of War definitely brought a tear or two to my eye. I'll certainly raise a glass in Adar and Ratbag's honors tonight. Lastly, there is some conjecture in the fandom as to whether the warming nature of the Orc-Draught given to Merry and Pippin was from alcohol or capsaicin. In any event, this recipe does not have any spicy elements in it, but as luck would have it, my next video does. It will be a brief respite from our Middle-earth drink series, but one of the beverages that will be explored may just fit a spicy, blood-themed, invigorating alcohol. We'll just need to take a quick walk along the Yggdrasil tree, as there's a certain game coming to PC next week that I greatly enjoyed on console. Now, I need to get out of here because I think there's a man desperately wrestling for control of his mind with a ring of power who seeks to reclaim this fortress to use the forces of Mordor against itself, and I don't want to be in his way when he gets here. If you liked this exploration of Orc-Draught and want to see what next week's video is all about, don't forget to like and subscribe, and consider becoming a channel member on Patreon like the noble benefactor IKnewThatWasADog. Tap here on the left for the Mulled Wines of Moria, and here on the right for another one of my videos. Until next time, cheers.
God, take his blood!